Nice. But you know when you have a moment, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna remember that forever. Thank you so much.
She was once the face of innocence, Hollywood's golden girl with the radiant smile and fairy tale grace. From the Princess Diaries to The Devil Wears Prada, Anne Hathaway seemed untouchable, the perfect mix of talent, elegance, and charm. But fame, as Hollywood loves to remind us, always comes with a price. After winning an Oscar for Les Misérables, the world that once adored her suddenly turned cold. Social media branded her fake. Talk shows mocked her enthusiasm. Overnight, Anne Hathaway, America's sweetheart, became one of the most disliked actresses in the world. How did the woman who once embodied every girl's dream become the symbol of Hollywood's hate? And more importantly, how did she rise from that storm stronger, braver, and more authentic than ever before? This is the untold story of Anne Hathaway, the princess who refused to stay broken. Anne Jacqueline Hathaway was born on the 12th of November 1982 in Brooklyn, New York, the middle child in a close-knit family that mixed art and discipline in equal measure. Her father, Gerald Hathaway, was a lawyer firm, structured and analytical. Her mother, Kate Macaulay Hathaway, was a theater actress full of warmth and emotion. It was her mother's world that captivated young Anne. She would sit quietly in the wings watching her mother perform Fantine in Les Misérables, mesmerized by the way a single performance could make an entire room feel something profound. It was there in the glow of stage lights and whispered applause that Anne decided, I want to do that too. But her childhood wasn't a perfect fairy tale. Raised in a strict Catholic home, Anne struggled with questions of faith and identity, especially when her older brother came out as gay. Her family's shift away from the church after that moment left a deep imprint on her, one that shaped her compassion, empathy, and sense of justice. She once described herself as a child who felt everything too deeply. That sensitivity would become her greatest strength and later her greatest vulnerability in Hollywood. Anne's first taste of acting came not on the grand stage, but on television. At just 16, she landed a role in the short-lived drama Get Real, 1999. The show barely lasted a season, but casting directors took notice of her expressive eyes and natural sincerity. Then in 2001, everything changed. Disney cast her as Mia Thermopolis in The Princess Diaries, an awkward teenager who discovers she's heir to a royal throne. The film exploded into a cultural phenomenon, turning Anne into an overnight sensation. Suddenly, she was the face of innocence, awkward, lovable, and effortlessly charming. Hollywood adored her. She was called the next Julia Roberts, Disney's perfect princess, the girl everyone wants to be. But behind the tiara, Anne felt trapped. She feared being typecast as the sweet, wholesome girl, a label too small for her ambition. In her words, people saw the princess. I wanted them to see the woman. She tried branching out with Ella Enchanted 2004 and The Other Side of Heaven, light-hearted roles that kept her in the fairy tale box. It was a comfortable prison fame without freedom, and deep down, Anne knew she had to break it, even if it meant losing everything Hollywood had just given her. To escape her princess image, Anne Hathaway made a bold move, stepping into a world far darker than Disney. In 2005, she starred in Brokeback Mountain, a raw, emotional drama that shattered stereotypes and redefined her as a serious actress. Critics were stunned. The once bubbly teen star had transformed into a fearless performer willing to bear both soul and vulnerability on screen. Then came The Devil Wears Prada, 2006. Opposite Meryl Streep's icy, Miranda Priestly Anne played Andy Sachs, a young woman caught between ambition and authenticity. The film wasn't just a hit. It became a cultural touchstone for an entire generation chasing success in a cutthroat world. Anne had arrived no longer the princess, but a leading woman with substance and control. Her ascent continued. In Rachel Getting Married 2008, she portrayed a recovering addict with haunting realism, earning her first Academy Award nomination. Each role peeled back a layer of glamour, revealing something rawer, more human. But it was Les Misérables 2012 that changed everything. Playing Fantine, the tragic mother forced into desperation, Anne lost 25 pounds, shaved her head, and delivered I Dreamed a Dream in one unbroken take that left audiences in tears. Her performance won her the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. As she held the golden statue, trembling with emotion, it seemed the world finally understood her brilliance. She had everything: talent, beauty, respect, power. But Hollywood, as Anne would soon learn, loves to build idols only to break them. Because even at her peak, the storm of public scrutiny was already forming and the internet was about to turn on its own queen. Anne Hathaway had just achieved the dream and Oscar in her hands, global recognition and the respect of Hollywood's elite. But almost immediately after that triumph, something shifted. A strange wave began to ripple through social media, what journalists later called Hathahate. It wasn't about her talent or a real scandal, it was about how she made people feel. They said she was too perfect, too polished, too sincere. Her smile fake, her Oscar speech rehearsed, her enthusiasm annoying. The internet turned her into a caricature of herself. Memes mocked her every move. Late night shows ridiculed her energy. Overnight, the woman who had once been America's sweetheart became its most unwanted perfectionist. But this wasn't the first time Anne had been publicly humiliated. Years earlier, her boyfriend Raffaello Foglieri, a charming Italian businessman, had been arrested for fraud. Federal agents raided their home. Anne, who had trusted him completely, was blindsided. Though she was never involved in his crimes, her name filled the headlines alongside his mugshot. She later admitted, "It was a nightmare. I lost everything: privacy, trust, and a sense of safety." After her Oscar backlash, Anne disappeared from the spotlight. She stopped giving interviews. She stopped smiling for the cameras. The woman once accused of being too much chose silence. Behind the scenes, she battled anxiety, insecurity, and a deep sense of betrayal, not just by the man she loved, but by the audience who once cheered for her. But while the world laughed, Anne was rebuilding quietly, patiently. She took acting classes again. She reconnected with her values. She fell in love with Adam Schulman, a man far from the Hollywood spotlight. And most importantly, she began to understand that perfection wasn't the goal, authenticity was. The world thought they had written her ending. But Anne Hathaway was just turning the page. When Anne Hathaway returned to Hollywood, she was no longer trying to prove anything. The girl who once sought everyone's approval had learned one of fame's harshest lessons: you can't control how people see you, but you can control how you see yourself. Her comeback wasn't loud. It was graceful. She chose roles that mirrored her own evolution complex. Women, neither saints nor sinners, just real. In Interstellar 2014, she played Dr. Amelia Brand, a scientist guided not just by intellect, but by love. The film was both vast and intimate, much like Anne's journey. Then in The Intern, 2015, opposite Robert De Niro, she portrayed a powerful CEO balancing motherhood, leadership, and loneliness, a reflection of the modern woman she had become. Her confidence now came from honesty, not perfection. When Ocean's 82018 arrived, Anne's role as Daphne Kluger, a glamorous, self-absorbed celebrity, was a wink to her critics. She played into her old reputation, owning it with humor and irony. Off-screen, Anne became a mother, an advocate, and a voice for women's rights. As a UN Goodwill ambassador, she spoke about paid parental leave and equality with the same passion she once reserved for acting. "I'm done apologizing for being myself," she said. It wasn't just a quote. It was her declaration of freedom. The world that once mocked her perfection was now celebrating her authenticity. Today, Anne Hathaway stands as one of Hollywood's most enduring figures, not because she never fell, but because she learned how to rise. From a teenage princess in the Princess Diaries to an Oscar-winning powerhouse in Les Misérables, her career has been a testament to reinvention. She faced betrayal, mockery, and an internet obsessed with tearing her down and turned that pain into purpose. Now in her 40s, Anne speaks openly about mental health equality and the impossible standards women face in the public eye. Her story isn't about fame, it's about resilience. She reminds us that strength isn't built in applause, it's forged in silence, in the moments when the world doubts you most. In an era that demands perfection, Anne Hathaway stands as proof that grace comes from honesty, not flawlessness. Her journey whispers a truth we all need to hear. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful, you just need to be real. If you were inspired by Anne Hathaway's story of strength and rebirth, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because behind every Hollywood star, there's a human story worth telling.